All right, it's Thursday. That means it is time for your Cooperage Brewing What's on Tap preview show. 49ers v Cowboys. And Chris, I don't know if it's because of where the 49ers are at this season from just a record standpoint and the fact that they just need to win, or if it's because both teams are so banged up. But this Niners-Cowboys game feels like it has a little bit less juice from a rivalry standpoint and more, or maybe it's because the 49ers have just dominated this matchup the last few years. But it just, for me, it's less about like, oh, it's the Cowboys, and more, hey, they need to get to 4-4. I don't really care who the opponent is.
Yeah, I mean, the discussion around the Niners, I think rightfully so, is much more about survival and surviving these injuries that they're going through, more so than like, oh, this is a pivotal game for playoff seeding in the NFC, because that's what it's been in previous years, right? When these two teams have met in the regular season, it's been, the Niners having a good year, the Cowboys having a good year, and when these teams match up, it has major ramifications on playoff seeding. Both these teams just need wins to, stay in the playoff mix, or at least avoid falling out of it for as much as you can in late October. There's still plenty of football to play, obviously, but both teams are super banged up. The Niners are, they're going to be without Brandon Ayuk, their leading receiver from last year, for the remainder of the season. Micah Parsons, his status is up in the air, and if he doesn't play, I think the Niners offense will have a far better chance. But there's good news coming out of Thursday's practice from the Niners' perspective. Deebo Samuel participated after dealing with pneumonia and being in the hospital early in the week. George Kittle was back on the practice field. So that was positive. And so from a Niners perspective, it's like, okay, you should have enough guys to win this game. Like you might not have Juwan Jennings who missed practice. But it looks like Deebo Samuel, Jordan Mason was limited. Friend of the show, Jordan Mason. If you didn't listen to Kyle's interview with him earlier in the week, you should go check that out. It was a fun interview. But the Niners really on offense, aside from Christian McCaffrey, it seems like Brandon Ayuk is going to be the only guy that they're missing. So they should be in an okay spot to score enough against the Cowboys defense that has been banged up.
Yes, I would agree. The two players that scare me the most on the Cowboys defense, if I'm the 49ers, are DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. DeMarcus Lawrence on IR, Micah Parsons hasn't practiced yet this week. Outside of that, like it's a bunch of guys I've frankly not heard of that are rushing the passer for the Cowboys. It's like, man, I understand the 49ers are banged up as well, but if there's a version of the Cowboys defense that you're going to see and that you're going to get right against offensively, like this is the one. And we've talked about all week, the 49ers offense hasn't been bad. Like I think that's the biggest kind of misconception with this season is the offense has been fine. They're just not scoring touchdowns. And now you're going up against a Cowboys defense that has not been good this year. They have not been super effective. They're without their two best players. Like, man, I understand the Cowboys are a talented team. They're coming off their bye week, and they need a win as badly as the 49ers do. But, man, on the other hand, there's just not a lot of reasons for me to think that the 49ers can't go out there, especially if George Kittle and Deebo Samuel are going to be back, which, like you said, they're trending that way. There's just no reason that they shouldn't be able to find touchdowns against this team.
Yeah, if you were to really obviously criticize the Niners offense the last, or at least against Kansas City, it's the turnovers from Brock Purdy. Right.
Definitely.
It's the, it's, and you can make you could draw a pretty clear line from Brock Purdy's turnovers to costing the team points. Right.
Yep. 100%.
So the Cowboys are coming off a game against Detroit where they lost 47-9. They turned the ball over 5 times. They didn't get any turnovers. Their previous game at Pittsburgh, they turned the ball over 3 times and got just 1. So we're talking about a Cowboys team that's turned over the ball 8 times in their last 2 games and only gotten 1 turnover. So I think the formula for this game should be pretty straightforward for the Niners. It's don't turn the ball over, and you should be able to move the ball against them. And you should be able to win the game because, frankly, the Cowboys offense just very, very middle of the pack, right? 20th in scoring, 20th overall in yardage. Their run game is basically non-existent. They're relying entirely on Dak Prescott. And when the Cowboys have to be one-dimensional against the 49ers and rely on Dak Prescott to win on the road, it just hasn't really gone in their favor, right?
No.
Like it feels like it's been years since Dak Prescott has beaten the 49ers. So I just, I think it's a straightforward approach. It's like they don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's protect the football. I'm curious to see if Kyle Shanahan's going to be willing to get back to the running game. We'll have to see. But I just, Dak Prescott does not have great numbers against the 49ers in his last 2 trips to Levi's Stadium. You have CeeDee Lamb, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't really know who else they have who you feel great about going into this game. I don't think Brandon Cooks on IR?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Let me check.
Yeah, we're looking at that. He is out.
But anyway, it's CeeDee Lamb, and that's kind of it on offense for the Cowboys. So I think this is a straightforward game for the Niners in terms of like what they need to do. Can they do it? That's an entirely different question. And you do have the disadvantage of the Cowboys are coming off their bye week, off that huge loss. So they'll certainly be an emotionally charged team.
I want to get back to the Cowboys defense and turnovers real quick. The Cowboys defense has generated 4 turnovers this year. They generated 2 against the Cleveland Browns in week 1. They generated 1 against the New Orleans Saints in week 2, 1 against the Giants, and 1 against the Steelers. Like those are the teams they've been able to get turnovers against. They didn't get one against the Ravens. They didn't get one against the Lions. So to your point, if the Niners are buttoned up in this game offensively, they should roll. Like if the 49ers are hurt and less talented than they were the last time they played the Cowboys are even proportionally less talented than the 49ers. Does that make sense? Like if they're both less talented, the Cowboys are even more less talented. Does that make sense?
You can just say the Cowboys are less talented.
Yeah, right. Okay, thanks. Appreciate you. The
Cowboys, if they're both healthy, are less talented, right? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's fine. I'm overworking the point. The fact of the matter is this is just a spot where the 49ers offense can and should get right. And whatever the Cowboys are going to bring offensively, who knows? They are coming off a bye. Like I said, they are desperate. But man, I've just not been super impressed with anything the Cowboys have done all year. And if you're the 49ers, obviously you can't go in complacent. You can't just throw your helmets on the field and win. But at the same time, I think you've got to be looking at this like a major opportunity to get to 4-4 going into your bye week.
Dallas overall is 23rd in DVOA, which isn't a great number. Offensively, they are 24th. Defensively, they are they're right in the middle of the pack, it looks like. So yeah, I just trying to find it right now. These charts, man. These charts. All right, they're 20, they're actually bad. They're 29th in defensive DVOA right now.
Yeah.
So this is a scenario where the 49ers should roll. That being said, we've seen them not roll in scenarios like this. We've seen them not roll against the Rams. We've seen them not roll against the Cardinals. I'm very curious to see what the Niners special teams looks like. And if, I'm basically going into every game thinking the Niners special teams, they're just at a 4-point disadvantage because of special teams.
You read my mind on this. The 49ers, we mentioned last pod, 18.4 yards per punt return allowed. Kevontae Turpin, the Cowboys punt returner, is averaging 19.2 yards per return.
Just kick it out of bounds.
Like, dude, launch it. I don't care if it's a touchback. Do not let Kevontae. If Kevontae Turpin gets more than one chance to return a punt, he's going to return one of them for a touchdown.
Yeah, there's a reasonable chance.
Like that, would you? I don't know what the numbers are on this, but I would love to bet Kevontae Turpin first touchdown. Would love it.
First touchdown.
Yeah.
Are you thinking kickoff or? It wouldn't surprise me if they just house the opening kickoff.
He's
That's
averaging
possible.
43 yards per kickoff return. And the 49ers
43?
Yes. And the 49ers have Anders Carlson, who may or may not be able to kick it out of the back of the end zone.
Yikes.
Like, God,
Okay.
Kevontae Turpin scoring a touchdown on Sunday night. Can I prize picks this?
If the Niners if the Niners lose, it's going to be because of special teams. They're going to miss a field goal. Something dumb is going to happen on a punt return or kickoff return. They might muff a return. Like if the Niners lose, I feel very confident that there's going to be a direct correlation to how they play on special teams.
Yeah.
So that's something, like I don't want to make excuses for them, but that is something where when you do have injuries like you have, and you have to do so much roster shuffling, particularly like at positions like linebacker and safety and cornerback, which the Niners have done. Those are positions where the backups play a lot of special teams. And, the Niners have just not had the depth there. And so that's something that we absolutely should keep an eye on. I don't know, man. I mean, we can talk about it. I feel like the way the season's gone, if they win this game and go into the bye week at 4-4, you have to feel not great about it, but 4-4 is a hell of a lot better than 3-5. Because if you're 3-5, you figure, you need to win 10 games to get into the playoffs. You need to go 7-2 the rest of the way. Whereas if you're 4-4, you need to go 6-3.
They don't have the margin for error to fall to 3-5.
Yeah.
Like they've smoked their games that they can smoke already, and they've got Detroit, Green Bay, Chicago, Buffalo. They've got the Rams coming up again. They've got another one against the Cardinals coming up. They've got another one against the Seahawks. Like, man, Tampa Bay is not going to be an easy game coming out of the bye week. They're in a spot where they need to stack up as many wins, especially in winnable games, as they can. And this is a very, very winnable game. Like, that's it. Like, you don't get to lose games where you're favored by 5.5 or 6 points anymore.
Going to Tampa next week is going to be a tough game, or in 2 weeks. Sorry.
It's a little bit less tough with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans out, but
true.
Still, Tampa Bay is a good team.
Yeah.
So
they're a first place team at the moment. So yeah, I'm with you. Like this is going to feel like a kitchen sink game for the Cowboys. They're coming off their bye. They're banged up. They're really trying to save their season. But the Niners should have the same mindset, because they can't afford to get to 3-5, knowing that they have to go to play a division winner on the road in Florida after the bye week. And then they have Seattle again. And then they have, that trip. I guess it's two trips. They're not going to stay over to play at Buffalo and at Green Bay in back-to-back weeks. Like that is a tough go. So you need to get these wins against teams that you're clearly better than. And the Niners are clearly better than the Cowboys right now, in my opinion, even despite all the injuries. So, it'll be interesting. Like, what do how is Debo going to be close to 100%? Is Ricky Pearsall going to be somebody who you feel comfortable playing a vast majority of the snaps like he did last week? What's it look like on third down without Jawan Jennings? Are you going to be able to score in the red zone? How healthy is George Kittle dealing with the foot? Like, there are plenty of questions. All that being said, if those guys are on the field, you should be better than the Cowboys, because the Cowboys defense is in a bad way right now, particularly without Micah Parsons.
Yeah, man. And the other thing I'm kind of looking for here is obviously it matters if those guys are healthy and on the field. But even if Debo is not 100%, or even if George Kittle's not 100%, can we get some kind of like creativity on Sunday night?
Yeah.
Can we get a Kyle Shanahan is in his bag type of game? Because we saw sprinkles of it after Brandon Ayuk went down. We saw some fun stuff in the run game. That quarterback sneak for Brock Purdy's first touchdown was cool. one of those games where Kyle Shanahan just kind of puts it together where, yeah, okay, Deebo Samuel was only 70% and George Kittle was a decoy basically in the passing game because of his foot. They didn't want to throw him the ball, but man, they got Ricky Pearsall involved in cool ways. They got Jacob Cowing going on a jet sweep, like all these different things they can do to get the ball in their playmakers' hands. I would love to see that from Kyle Shanahan, regardless of what percentage Deebo Samuel and George Kittle are. Like that the game is still there for them, even though those guys aren't 100%.
At some point, and this is why I don't know if I've mentioned this take on the podcast yet.
Ooh.
I think the Niners, regardless of when they think Christian McCaffrey is going to be back, and apparently they're confident that he's going to be back after the bye, whether it's against Tampa or Seattle, one of those first two games after the bye, I think they should go get a running back. Like somebody who they feel comfortable giving 5 to 10 touches a game so you can get back to the type of offense that you want to have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have to operate like it's no sure thing that Christian McCaffrey is going to be there, because obviously Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason is a really solid, if not great, 1-2 punch.
For sure.
But I think with Mason's injury, like the shoulder issue that he's dealing with, and with the fact that McCaffrey's coming off the Achilles stuff, I think you need one more guy. So even if you lose McCaffrey or Mason, you can run an offense that still leans heavily on the running game, so you don't have to do this thing where it's Brock Purdy 7-step drop every pass attempt. Right? Like Kyle Shanahan, for reasons that are unknown to anybody except him, has gone away from the offense that we're so used to seeing that's been so successful, where it's get the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly, utilize play action, keep the defense on its toes, sequencing plays. It's like, it just doesn't feel like the offense has any rhythm to it because it's so reliant on shotgun and so reliant on the drop back passing game, which has never really been the strength of Kyle Shanahan as a play caller.
Right.
So I think you can make that shift in the middle of the season, but that's why I think they should go get a running back. And I'm not saying like go, trade a second round pick or, anything substantial for a running back, but they clearly don't have all that much trust in Isaac Guerrero. So like go get somebody you do trust to touch the ball 10 times a game.
Yeah.
And see, because I think that could be really beneficial down the stretch.
Jeff Wilson's not doing anything in Miami. Just go get him.
Yeah. Raheem Mostert, like,
yeah.
Raheem Mostert's got his own injury history and all that, but
I got to tell you, I don't want to belabor this point, but the fact that they used yet another 4th round pick, traded up for a 4th round pick at running back, who they can't give 5 to 8 carries a game to, is a catastrophe. At some point, this has to stop. It has to. It's a mess. You have Jordan Mason, who is number 2 in the NFL in rushing and number 3 in yards per attempt among players with 100 or more rushes, and a 4th round pick that you traded 2 picks to go up and get. That should be plenty behind Christian McCaffrey. And to your point, I don't think it is.
Yes,
it should be.
I agree.
But it's really clear that through 7 weeks, they don't rock with whatever Isaac Guerrendo's doing. So,
and maybe that changes.
Maybe.
Maybe that changes. But yeah, I'm with you. I just think, obviously they could use another receiver. They could use, I think defensive ends, defensive line. Any defensive, if they could get a dude who could play outside in base situations or in rundowns and who can pass rush from the inside, like if they could go get Eric Armstead, and maybe not him literally, but like if they could go get somebody who can do those things, what they brought Yetur Gross-Matos in to do, I think that would be super valuable to them, because I think that's what they need more than anything else at the trade deadline. But I would say for the offense to get back to looking like a Kyle Shanahan offense, they would be wise to get a running back. And maybe it's just Christian McCaffrey. Maybe it's, it's impossible to take him off the field when he's healthy. So we'll see.
Yeah, but the depth aspect definitely still matters, especially given the fact that he has Achilles tendonitis, and may or may not. We have no idea what it's going to look like once he's back on the field. So,
and there are probably some people listening to this podcast being like, "Bring back Matt Breida. He's available." It's like, okay, Matt Breida. No shade to Matt Breida, super nice guy. probably not it at this point.
If they thought Matt Breida was going to help, they would have kept him around. He's still a free agent. He's not even on the practice squad.
Exactly.
That's tough. We talked so much about the Chiefs' ownership of the 49ers, and I think we saw it manifest a little bit in Brock Purdy. I think at times trying to do too much under center. Do you think the Niners' dominance of the Cowboys matters? Like, do you think that on the Cowboys radio station right now, they're like, oh man, they're in the Cowboys' heads?
I think, I definitely think there's something to Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott in particular, because the Mike McCarthy thing, the Niners have basically beaten Mike McCarthy in every big game for forever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, like, I don't think there's any fear Kyle Shanahan has or the Niners coaching staff has when it comes to going up against Mike McCarthy. And I think we're probably getting pretty close there to Dak Prescott, because as good as his numbers have been, when it's been against the Niners in a big spot, it's never really felt like, Dak Prescott is going to be the rising tide that lifts the Cowboys over the Niners in a big spot. And maybe that changes this week. And maybe it changes because, Dak has a really nice game. CeeDee Lamb gets a couple of touchdowns. The Niners give up a special teams touchdown. They turn the ball over in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of the formula for the Niners to lose. Like, being bad in the red zone / turning it over in the red zone, being bad on special teams, and then allowing the other team to score just enough has been their formula to lose. If they can clean those things up, then they should be fine, because I don't think there's any reason the 49ers should fear. Like to your point, the dominance over Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott to me is real. Probably less so for like the rest of the roster. Like, I don't think, I think like Turpin is probably the guy that like gives the Cowboys the biggest edge, and he's not like, ooh, the big bad 49ers. Like, he's got to be licking his chops, looking at the special teams tape going against the Niners. You know what I mean?
He's gonna catch a punt and be like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, no, he's gonna be excited. Where McCarthy and Prescott maybe less so.
21 wild card round. Let's get to prize picks. Prize picks, run your game. These are our selections for this week. I'm still waiting on. Oh no, I've got about. I need Harrison Barnes to not have a lot of rebounds tonight. I've got Harrison Barnes less than 2.5 rebounds to finish out a 4 pick flex entry from yesterday. I'm gonna go 3 picks today. These are I've got a 3-player entry. I've got Brock.
Yours
Purdy.
is just for our video watchers on YouTube. I am currently sharing my screen because I thought I was going to go first, which is totally fine. Go first.
Bad,
but yeah, what you're saying is not currently what's on the screen, so I just want that to be clear.
Okay, we'll remove that.
You want me to remove it? Okay, stop sharing. All right.
Thank you. I will continue. I was just rolling. Sorry. I've got Brock Purdy less than 18.5 rushing yards. I think there's going to be a concerted effort to get the ball out of his hands, and I think the 49ers are going to run it, but I think it's going to be with Jordan Mason, which leads me to my second entry, Jordan Mason, more than 18 rushing attempts. I think they're going to lean on him quite a bit. And then on the other side, I've got CeeDee Lamb, more than half a rushing or receiving touchdown, mostly because if Dallas scores an offensive touchdown, it's very likely going to go to CeeDee Lamb. That's my 3-pick flex play. Okay, now you can do.
I'm going to go back to.
Yeah, go.
Now I can share my screen again. All right, we're sharing screens. All right, I am going Dak Prescott less than 249.5 passing yards for obvious reasons. I just don't think he plays well against the Niners. And I'm going more than 241.5 passing yards for Brock Purdy. There's a chance that Kyle Shanahan does the thing where like he runs the ball 40 times. With Deebo Samuel banged up, or at least not banged up, but maybe not at 100% after having pneumonia, I feel like we're not going to see the run heavy Kyle Shanahan offense until after the bye week. So I'm going to go more than 241.5 passing yards for Brock Purdy. That in that same vein, I'm going fewer or less than 80.5 rushing yards for Jordan Mason. I'm going more than 1.5 made field goals for Anders Carlson
I love
because
this.
I'm not super optimistic about the Niners in the red zone just yet. And I actually went for say that again.
Until they start scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
Good move.
100%. So I went with a power play this week. I did a flex play last week. I won 4 out of 5. Didn't love my multiplier there. So just feeling aggressive about this one, feeling like I need to be aggressive going into this week. The 7.5x multiplier I feel pretty good about. So if I get all 4 of these picks, I get 7.5x my initial investment.
Nice.
So I think that's gonna be the move this week. Going back to the power play. We're going back to the power play despite no success last year with it, but I'm feeling okay about this one.
I love this for you, man. Shout out to Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code Candlestick for 3, 2, and 1. Download the Prize Picks app today and use Candlestick. Nope, 3, 2, and 1. Download the. You can leave all this in. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code Candlestick to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code Candlestick to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup at the Prize Picks app. Prize Picks, run your game. Nailed it. Are we done?
You have a prediction?
49ers. I think the Niners are going to win. 49ers 27. Cowboys 25.
I'm going 31-23 Niners.
Nice. It would be a pretty significant deal, I think, if they could score 31 points in a game where they're like 4 for 4, 4 for 5 in the red zone.
Well, I need those field goals.
Or maybe even generate an explosive touchdown.
Hey, that'd be a thing.
Yeah, like a 30-yard touchdown or a 40-yard touchdown. Maybe one of those.
So we've mentioned it here, and I did want to say this because I've been thinking about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I mentioned it, you mentioned it. It felt kind of egregious at the time, particularly because Brock Purdy threw an interception just after it. On the deep pass to Jacob Cowing that he underthrew, that should have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
We've been harsh on Brock Purdy for that particular throw. Obviously, like the touchdown or the interception in the end zone was egregious. Underthrowing that pass is not as bad as overthrowing it would have been. Like I feel like in the moment I kind of killed Brock Purdy for it, and we were pretty critical of it, talking about that throw. Underthrowing it is still better than overthrowing it, because at least underthrowing it, he made the catch. You have a chance at creating a defensive pass interference if you underthrow it, right? If you overthrow it, then it's completely useless. Not only is it incomplete, but you don't get a chance at a DPI. Like if you're going to have a miss on a deep throw like that, it's better to be underthrown than overthrown. And that's
yes,
the only thing
in the context. But in the context of that game where there wasn't a lot going on, you need to connect on that for a touchdown.
Yeah,
like
that's
down 2 scores. That 41-yard completion, like, puts you in a position where you might throw an interception in the end zone.
Yeah,
I think in a normal game, that's kind of like what you said. Like, okay. But man, they needed that one bad.
Agreed.
All right. That's all we got. We'll talk to you after the game. Hey, we get to pod together on Sunday night, by the way.
Hey.
Yeah, I don't have stuff.
Are we gonna go live?
Yeah, we'll go live. We'll go live. We'll do it live.
You're not doing your big post-game show on your big Bay Area radio station. You can actually hang out with your little podcast that you spend some time doing.
Yeah. They said, Kyle, we really like you. And I put my foot down this time. I said, no, Chris needs me there. So they're going to take Warriors post-game instead, which makes sense. They're the flagship station of Warriors.
Okay. I will see you in person, Kings Wolves.
Oh,
over at
G1C
in Doco.
Shout out to Lamb Chops.
Yeah, shout out to lamb chops. I'll rock some
Don't
lamb
wear
chops. See if any
don't
Wolves
wear
players
your
say anything.
don't wear your mechanics jacket.
Don't wear it.
Yeah, I'm wearing mine.
Okay,
Unless you
good to
match.
know. No. It's not that type of party. Yeah, sounds good. All right, I'll see you at Doco, and we will talk to everyone else after the game. We will do a live show after Niners Cowboys. Keep it locked. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. 5 stars.
You're approaching 1,000
notification bells.
subscribers on YouTube, by the way.
Man, that would be lovely. That would be lovely. And shout out to you for getting JP Mason. That was great.
Thanks, man.
All right. See you guys Sunday night.